welcome back to Arts Weekly. Joining me is Omowale-Ketu Oladuwa, founder and executive artistic director of the Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture. It's good to have you on the show, Ketu.
Thank you, Chuck. It's really good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about TRIAAC, the Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture, short to TRIAAC. How you got it started and what's it about?
Well, TRIAAC is the outgrowth of the Three Rivers Djembe Ensemble. We started TRIAAC in 2007. We incorporated in 2007. But we actually began this whole project and process back in 1999 when we formed the Three Rivers Djembe Ensemble. And the ensemble was a group of young people between the ages of 7 and 18 years old that we brought together to teach traditional Ghanaian drumming and dance. And that is now in its 11th season. The ensemble is now in its 11th season. Initially, we were housed at the Fort Wayne Dance Collective and were a program underneath the Dance Collective. In 2007, we formed Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture and brought the ensemble in as our primary project.
So you've expanded your mission in a sense, or is it still mostly the djembe ensemble?
We've expanded the mission, and we've expanded the programs that serve that mission.
We were talking prior, we've known each other for a few years, about the tradition in Africa of elder people in the society, in the town, really importing wisdom upon the younger as a group, as a culture, and kind of the wisdom of the elders. To a certain extent, are you bringing that philosophy into the TRIAAC?
It's natural to what we're doing. Yes, that's an African principle. It's an African organizational principle. Respect for the elders, guidance by the elders, and respect for the ancestors. It's natural in that it's natural to African people here in the United States, African Americans. Our traditions going back to the Deep South all were collective. We're a collectivist people. We work best when we worked out of a collective form of organization. And when we formed the Three Rivers Djembe Ensemble, that was our purpose. Our purpose wasn't primarily to play the drum. The purpose was to play the drum of the heart, to bring young people and their elders and adults in their lives together into a community. So it's really a community building project. That's what the ensemble was. The TRIAAC, Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture, expands upon that and takes it beyond African American people to the wider community. Now, the ensemble has always served people of all races and all ethnicities and all religions, but the primary focus was on African American culture. With the Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture, the underlying principle is still traditional African values and principles, but we're bringing that to the wider community because we see that that is something that will strengthen us as a community.
That's an interesting perspective, I think.
Well, when I grew up in the 50s, I grew up across the street from Italians and Polish people and people from the Caribbean and from south of the border. And it was a community. We were in one another's homes. We ate one another's foods. We slept in one another's beds. And we shared one another's parenting. So it's not just a traditional African principle. It's a traditional principle of people who are close to the earth.
But the djembe ensemble, and again, this is a drumming ensemble, and you mentioned that it's not just about the music, it's about a lot more. It's not just for black kids, right? I mean, you have all kinds of kids in there.
Yes. Out of our first 13 members, we had 4 members who were white and 2 members who were Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And we have grown that ever since. We don't segregate.
My observation about drumming, especially drumming as a group, when I've heard it, you know, I grew up in Arizona and we used to go up to the Hopi and Navajo reservations and listen to that drumming, and I've heard your guys' drumming. It's very powerful, it's very loud, it's very entrancing, almost. It seems to me, though, even though it's not about the music, or you're not really teaching your students how to play the drums, even though they are, it's an enormously unifying feeling, I think, to play the drums with other people, similar to playing music with other people.
It's absolutely the same thing. Drumming, most people think of drumming as banging. The thing about the drumming that we do that is unique is the drums that we play are from the Mande-speaking people of Guinea and Mali, the people who formed the Mali Empire back in the 1300s. And those drums produce a melody along with the rhythm. The mellow rhythm that is produced is one that does entrain. When you add the djembe on top of that, you have a conversation that goes on that represents that collective spirit that we talked about a little while ago.
Right, it is kind of a conversation.
It's absolutely
through music
a conversation.
And beat. And I always thought that drumming, you know, everybody likes drumming. Whatever your kind of music, you know, good drumming makes you tap your toe,
Right.
makes you move a little bit. Do you find that, I guess the origin of why we enjoy drumming and rhythm is that it sort of, I don't know, reflects the heartbeat in a way?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so from the heart.
It's a heartbeat rhythm. You know, the drum is the heartbeat of a people.
Well, moving on, the Institute also has the Spoken Word Cafe.
Yes.
That's your other big initiative. Tell us a little bit about the Spoken Word Cafe.
Spoken Word Cafe, the Acoustic Spoken Word Cafe, is an opening of the marvelous space that we have at 501 East Brackenridge to artists throughout the community, spoken word artists and artists who can play their instruments acoustically. We open the space, we serve coffee, we turn on the spotlights, and we let people create. It's not a space where people have to feel uptight about performing per se. It's about being. It's about being in a creative space.
But you also have some notable speakers there recently.
We've had plenty.
And you do poetry readings and performances of all kinds, correct?
Yes, musical performances. We do spoken word performances, dance, you name it. We do.
Well, let's look at some of the ones you have, some of the things you have coming up there. Because,
Please.
And by the way, these are every other Saturday, or the second and fourth Saturday?
It's the second and fourth Saturday of every month, except August and December and November.
Okay.
We only do one in each one of those.
Well, let's see. You have coming up on February 26th, you have the Cliff Wallace Trio.
Yes, Cliff plays jazz. Cliff is a drummer who has recently returned to the community and has a marvelous jazz group.
Wonderful. And that's at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
And you say 501 East Breckenridge. Where is that? Is it just east of Lafayette?
It is 1 block east of Lafayette.
Okay.
Not between, but 1 block east of Lafayette on Brackenridge.
Right on Breckenridge. So it's right near downtown.
Right across the street from TRIAAC, and it is in downtown.
Yeah, it is in downtown.
It is.
It's very easy to get to.
Yes.
So good. You have Cliff Wallace Trio. Then you come on with Linda Bess and Eric Mulberg.
Yes.
On March 26th.
Linda is a multi-talented artist. She's a poet. She sings. She dances. She does multimedia work. Eric is a guitarist and a media guy around town, and they're bringing their talents together.
One of our favorites, in fact, one of our teachers here at IPFW, Derek Reeves, principal violist in the Fort Wayne Philharmonic, is going to be performing on April 19th.
And we're really looking forward to Derek being in the house.
Yeah, he's going to do his own music.
He's going to do his own stuff.
Wow. Now, following that, you have a memorial to Dr. Margaret Burroughs. Who was Dr. Margaret Burroughs? And that's going to be on April 23rd.
Dr. Burroughs was a poet, artist, visual artist from Chicago. Grew up during the Harlem Renaissance years and formed the DuSable Museum of African Culture in Chicago and the South Side Community Center in Chicago. Dr. Burroughs is widely respected, widely known. She passed just recently, and we're doing a memorial service to her. She came to Fort Wayne in 2006, I believe it was, just before we went to Africa.
I see.
And spent time with our kids and
members
of the community.
A great
influence on us.
One final question, K2, to the parent who is looking for something interesting for their child to do. What would you hope a child would get out of being a part of the djembe ensemble and coming down to your organization?
They'd get good friends. They'd get elders who care about their children. They'd get a place where their children could feel safe and secure, and they would get a child who learned about a culture that might not be familiar to them.
That's good stuff. Understanding and being together. That's good. Well, that's all the time we have, K2. It's wonderful having you on the show. I look forward to attending the Spoken Word Cafe. Many opportunities to do so, and it just sounds like you're doing great work. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
For information about the Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture, you can contact them at triaacxad@frontier.com or call 260-969-9442. The Spoken Word Cafe is located in downtown Fort Wayne at 501 East Breckenridge Street, just east of Lafayette. You missed us on PBS on Sundays? Arts Weekly can be seen Tuesday through Thursday on College Access Television, as well as on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search Arts Weekly and you can watch our program on the internet. I'm Chuck O'Connor. Thanks for tuning in to Arts Weekly. Join me next week with guests Renee Butler and Gary Lanier from the Fort Wayne Civic Theater's production of Rent, and Reuben Brown from the African American Historical Museum.